Hi everybody, I hope you're well wherever you find yourself in this moment and that you're enjoying this course so far. Welcome to week 2 of our study of the book One Buddha is Not Enough, which is the wonderful book that was based on the retreat that was given by our Manyfold community in Colorado in 2009. I'm enjoying this opportunity to go through these teachings again so much. One of the unexpected delights for me is been to see the photos of brothers and sisters as we were 8 years ago. It's a little like a time capsule, and it's brought me many smiles and a lot of joy as I've been working through the book. Chapter 2 is entitled A Cloud Never Dies, and in this chapter we hear a retelling of the story of a herbal healer in the Lotus Sutra who was able to bring about amazing cures for everyone except his own family. If we're really honest, you and I know this feeling well. There's the old joke, if you think someone has spiritual attainments and you want to test them, send them home for a couple of weeks and see what happens. Are we willing to bring our spiritual practice to shine on the most intimate, painful, and raw places within ourselves? This is where transformation, rather than spiritual bypassing, or as I sometimes like to put it, transcendence happens. The way out is in, as Tay puts it so eloquently in our tradition. Can we bring the light of mindfulness to reflect on those most deepest intimate places within ourselves? That's the invitation of this chapter. We have you, the person watching and listening to this, and I have been given all the tools and knowledge we need. The challenge and the invitation is for us to put it into practice in a real way. It's easy, too easy actually, to focus on what others need to fix, whether it be our partners, our children, our sanghas, our nation, yes indeed, but how about ourselves? The morning after the most recent presidential election, I wrote an open letter in which I shared that amongst other things, this situation is an invitation for us to stop expecting others to do our work for us, and to step into adulthood by taking responsibility and being accountable. The same is true for our spiritual life. Spiritual maturity begins when we're willing to confront our situation, to look our situation in the face, and to play an active role in actually applying transformative practices appropriate to our situation. In the Buddhist way of looking, inside and outside, the inner world and the world outside are not two separate realities. It can sound cliched, but it's true on a profound level that when we transform our heart, we transform our environment, both inner and outer. There are people that walk in the room. We all know these people. We've all met them, and they immediately change the energy in the space. We are indeed co-creators of our environment, both inside and outside. In Chapter 2, we also learn about the practice of shining light. This is a practice that we do either in the monastic sangha or in many lay sanghas, where we take another person as the object of our meditation and we offer guidance to them. When I think of shining light and the metaphorical image of shining light, I remember sitting in a hut on the side of a mountain in New Zealand in the year 2000. It was late afternoon and I was enjoying sitting meditation by myself. Suddenly, the late afternoon sun sent a beam through the window, and floating in the air, I was able to see all these specks of dust that were invisible just moments before. Shining light is like that. We bring the collective energy of insight to consider a person's situation and what practices might be useful for them at this point in their journey. As monastics, we formally do this practice every year. We begin with asking the person to shine light on their own practice. The person then shares how they see their own situation. I find that many times, in fact most times, the person's self-shining light is very complete already, and we may not need to add much. Most times, to be honest, we actually see our situation very well indeed. Our challenge is to actually take concrete steps towards transformation. The community shares the beautiful points of the person and shares areas that they might want to consider looking into. In Deer Park Monastery, where I live, we don't frame the sharing in terms of positive and negative or good and bad, but rather the wonderful qualities a person has and invitations for deep looking and suggested practices. In this chapter, there are a few letters from practitioners who were present at the retreat in Colorado in 2009. In one of them, written by Barbara Hawk, there's a quote that feels appropriate here. "This is what is." It's a little like the sword of Manjushri that can cut through a whole lot of confusion. This is what is. In the practice of shining light and also in our meditation practice, this attitude of this is what is a very important attitude. We're not judging ourselves or each other. We're holding the situation and the person lovingly and openly and asking ourselves what is the most helpful for this person at this point in their unique journey. Each monastic in our community receives between 45 minutes and 1 hour of shining light in this way every year. This practice always brings our community closer together. When we take refuge in a sangha, the act of refuge should not be a theoretical notion, but an everyday lived reality of opening up and trusting the other members of our community. This is one reason why the practice of shining light brings the community closer together, because everybody is opening themselves up, putting down their armor, and saying, "I take refuge in the sangha," not with their mouth, but with every cell of their being. There's another important teaching hinted at in the practice of shining light and in what's being offered in this chapter. That's the concept of sangha eye. In Buddhism, we speak a lot about the Buddha eye or the Dharma eye. In the Plum Village tradition, we emphasize sangha eye. This is the understanding that in the spiritual life, the sangha eye, the communal view, the sangha view, is always clearer than an individual view. This is quite different to how we've been conditioned in our daily life. This week, after I read the chapter, A Cloud Never Dies, I came up with 3 reflection questions for us to consider either by ourselves through journaling or our meditation, or perhaps to consider raising as discussion points in our sanghas. The first question is, what does it mean to you in a concrete way to take refuge in the sangha? What are some ways that you find yourself taking refuge in the sangha, and you find your sangha, your community, taking refuge in you? What's the interplay there? The second question is there an area of your life where the insight of this is what is could be helpful? And the third question is there an area of your practice life that you currently find yourself challenged and invited to grow into? Well, I hope you've enjoyed and benefited from our sharing today. This program, along with so many other great programs, has been made possible by the Thich Nhat Hanh Foundation thanks to your kind and generous support. If you find this teaching of benefit and would like other similar teachings to be made available, I hope you'll consider making a contribution by visiting thichnhathanhfoundation.org. Have a wonderful week of practice.